Hi, my name is Norman and this is my video book report on The Reason You Walk by Wab Kinew. In this video, I will be talking about 5 artifacts, events, or ideas that I think best represent some of the most important and meaningful moments in the book. For each one, I will be talking about what it means culturally to Wab, where it shows up in the book, and how it connects to my own life. The first thing I chose was actually an event, the Sweat Lodge. The Sweat Lodge is one of the most important purification ceremonies in Ojibwe and Anishinaabe culture. What basically happens is that they would heat up these rocks called grandmothers and grandfathers, bring them into a lodge and pour water over them to create steam. The idea is that the steam will cleanse your body, mind, and spirit. According to the Canadian Encyclopedia, sweat lodges were actually banned by the Indian Act up until 1951, so for Ojibwe people, it was a very meaningful ceremony as it's also a symbol of keeping their culture even when the government tried to take it away. In the book, there's a part around Labor Day weekend where Wab and his family go back to their community to rebuild their sweat lodge. His father leads the ceremony one last time, and Wab says on page 194, "It would be the last time any of us would sweat with my father." It ended up being the last one they ever shared together. A moment in my life where something like this happened was back when I used to visit my grandparents in Hong Kong. It felt normal at the time, but after my grandfather passed, I realized that those were some of the last meaningful moments I spent with him, just like Wab and his father. The second thing I chose was a smudging ceremony, which involved sage as a sacred object. Sage is one of the 4 sacred medicines in Anishinaabe culture, and smudging is a purification ritual where you burn sage and fan the smoke over yourself to clear away negative energy, stress, or bad thoughts. On the Canadian Encyclopedia, it says that as the smoke rises, it's believed to carry your prayers up to the Creator. In the book, smudging comes up during a very important reconciliation ceremony where Wab's father brings together residential school survivors and Catholic Church leaders. On page 129, Wab says, "I struck a match and lit a piece of sage. The smoke circled upward and my nostrils filled with a scent. I fanned myself, the smudge slowly climbing over me." This connects to my life because I often go on walks outside with my mom at night around the neighborhood after a long day as a way to decompress and relieve stress. We usually don't have a specific place we're trying to go to, it's more of us just walking around to clear our heads and reset, which I think is similar to what smudging does. The third thing I chose was the Sundance, which is an event and a ceremony as well. The Sundance is a sacred ceremony that's practiced by the Anishinaabe and other Plains First Nations, which includes Wab's cultural group. According to the Canadian Encyclopedia, it's a ceremony about renewal, healing, sacrifice, and endurance where the dancers offer prayers to their family, the earth, and their communities. Dancers fast from food and water and make physical sacrifices as offerings to the Creator. Similar to the Sweat Lodge, the Sundance was also banned by the Indian Act in 1895, but Ojibwe communities kept practicing it in secret, which just shows how important it was to them. In the book, Wab participates in a 4-day Sundance to pray for his father who's dying of cancer. On page 182, Wab says, "Every year we return to the Sundance with very specific prayers. That year we asked for Ndede to be well again. That was the reason I dragged skulls." This really shows just how much this ceremony meant to Wab. It was deeply personal and driven by love for his father. This connects to my life because there was a time where my dad wanted to hike to the top of a mountain once, and I went with him. It was exhausting, and there were moments I really wanted to stop, but I kept going because I wanted to be there with him at the end. Similar to what Wab did at the Sundance, it was about doing something hard for someone you cared about. The fourth thing I chose was the buffalo skull, which is an artifact. The buffalo skull is a sacred object used in Sundance ceremonies by Plains First Nations, including the Plains Ojibwe, which is part of Wab's Anishinaabe cultural group. According to the World History Encyclopedia, the skulls are placed in the Sundance Lodge to honor the power of the buffalo, which is seen as a sacred gift from the Creator and the provider of everything for Plains peoples. Some Sundancers also choose to pierce their backs and attach ropes to heavy buffalo skulls, then drag them around the entire circle as one of the highest forms of sacrifice a dancer can make. In the book, on page 177, Wab writes, "They finished tying the buffalo skulls to each other with sisal, and I knelt beside each one, speaking to them." He ends up dragging 12 buffalo skulls around the entire circle for his dying father. This connects to my life because there was a time where my mom was going through a really stressful period at work. I couldn't fix the situation, but I tried to be there for her by giving her space, cheering her up, and taking her outside. Similar to Wab dragging the skulls for his father, I couldn't solve the problem, but I could show up and carry some of the weight with her. Finally, the last item I chose was the hand drum, which is a physical artifact. The hand drum is one of the most sacred instruments in Ojibwe and Anishinaabe culture. According to the Canadian Encyclopedia, drumming plays a key role in Anishinaabe ceremonies and is used for healing and connecting to the spirit world. In the book, after Tobosenakwut passes away, Wab prepares his father's body and on page 251 writes, "I sang 4 songs for him on the hand drum, songs he liked to use for ceremonies." He sings a Sundance song, and finally the traveling song, which is the same song the book's entire title came from. The last one connects to my life because when I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed, I listen to calm jazz music to help me process my emotion. Similar to how Wab used the hand drum in that final moment, music is my way of working through feelings that are too hard to put into words. So those were the 5 things I chose from The Reason You Walk. What they all have in common is that they show Wab's culture carried him through his hardest moments, like losing his father. Thank you for listening.